panel for discussion on capitalism and the working class. And Conrad Debbie is a cook. Let's please give her a hand.
All right.
I think she cooked along with Linda here. Linda, did you participate as well? No? Okay. All right. Well, anyway, we're grateful for anything that, we can have to sup on. And Debbie is also a Workers' World member and organizer.
Don't want it to burn. There it is.
Okay, Debbie is our Workers' World member and organizer and cook as well. And we appreciate her. And now she will give our discussion on austerity at home and worldwide and the global economic warfare on the workers of the world.
Good afternoon, sisters and brothers.
Good afternoon.
It is with great enthusiasm that I join this panel of the Marxism Conference organized by the Detroit branch of Workers. I don't need that.
Please. Streaming.
Oh,
Yeah, we are.
okay,
We're recording all of this.
Okay.
For posterity.
I got it. Whoa.
No individuality.
Is it working now? Okay. It is working? Okay. When I look out into the audience and see some new faces and welcome some old friends, I am thrilled to assume that you came here today to take a new look at and learn more about another social and economic order for change and to find out what lies behind the quest for that change. Over the course of this conference, you will learn of and consider what Marxism is truly all about. In the course of that new look, the realities and truths of capitalism will be revealed in all its ugliness, greed, murder, and mayhem. In a few words, there is nothing pretty about capitalism which we will expose that you are not aware of or have viewed firsthand. The point of the conference, however, is to not only dispel the untruths about Marxism, but to reveal how a system change, a social and economic rebirth, is the only solution and the only direction that humankind can make to guarantee the continuation of life on this planet. And let me tell you, it's real. Those speakers before me and after me, I am confident, will fill in all the blanks and answer all the questions that you might have in pursuit of that guarantee. To look ahead, however, you must know and understand what lies behind. To know where you are going, to move forward, to confront the future, to build toward that future, you must know from where you came. For the working class and oppressed here, right here, in the belly of the capitalist beast, and for the workers and oppressed around the globe, the past 20 years, in real terms, brothers and sisters, the last 150 years, have been a continual maelstrom of economic and social warfare, unleashed by a tiny minority in America and globally, whose predatory instincts have taken millions of lives in global wars, crushed millions more by economic exploitation and domination, and even millions more just because. Today we are being battered and bruised by yet another form of capitalist exploitation, a new wave of assault dressed down but no less life-threatening. The ruling class' latest web of increased poverty, unemployment, homelessness, and hunger, which they call austerity. Oxford Dictionary defines austerity as, quote, difficult economic conditions created by government measures to reduce public expenditures. Well, I would amend that definition to more correctly read, quote, economic conditions created by capitalist greed and imposed by the government. In fact, the worldwide capitalist economic crisis is behind home foreclosures, the home foreclosure crisis sweeping the country and the globe, ballooning long-term unemployment, the systematic dismantling of public education nationally and internationally, the destruction of healthcare systems globally, and the slashing of healthcare benefits here at home, the attack on pensions, the attack on workers, the dismantling of the protections for work in work environments, etc., etc. The list is long and it continues to grow. The economic collapse of cities and towns across the country and around the globe are occurring at an alarming rate. The results of capitalist crisis and are further exacerbated by capitalism's latest response, austerity. So what if workers must have 2 jobs to barely make ends meet? Or the elderly must continue to work low-wage jobs well into their 70s and even 80s. The austerity dictated by U.S. and European banks being foisted upon the backs of the workers and the press is the same no matter where it is imposed. In Detroit, the forced bankruptcy of the city is also happening in other cities across the country and around the globe. They're not just bankrupting Detroit, they're bankrupting cities everywhere. Wholesale assaults on the pensions of public sector workers are being carried out in America in the same way they are being carried out in Spain and in Greece and in Portugal, in Great Britain and France, and everywhere. The place and the people may change, but the routine remains the same. Cut pension benefits, health care benefits, destroy and cast adrift retirees whose very survival depends on pensions which they worked decades to build. Social programs of all kinds. It doesn't matter if you're a babe in arms or an elderly man or woman choosing between hunger and homelessness. It is a fact of life in America today. The propaganda machine, of course, has welcomed these austerity programs at home and abroad as the means by which with a little sacrifice from us, never them, the country and the world will continue to be made better for economic growth. Oh yeah, right. Freedom and democracy. What they really mean is that the profits of big business are protected and will continue to increase tenfold on the backs of every working man, woman, and child here and around the world. And who is calling the shots and setting the economic agendas? The multinational banking system dominated by U.S. and European banks. Predatory capitalism formulated and dictated the way and means by which the workers and oppressed the world over will assume the burden of the recovery for capitalism. Now, we've had a jobless recovery, but they're looking for some more recovery. It is this very austerity which has awakened a sleeping beast, an international working class movement whose very survival means opposing the bankers' austerity program. As the austerity assault is forced upon countries, it is clear that resistance is the only recourse for workers the world over. In Greece and Spain and Portugal, and a growing list of countries Greece, Spain, Portugal, and a growing list of countries are witness to this crushing assault, the dictates of the international banking thugs, being implemented by governments held in economic bondage to the international banking consortium. But workers are increasingly resisting the government-imposed bank-dictated austerity. A Portuguese trade union representative aptly described the everyday realities of the crushing austerity of the ruling class. And I think this is something that we will see everywhere. This government has been implementing a policy of violent austerity with brutal and accelerated cuts in wages and pensions, which shamefully benefit the big industries and financial institutions. At the same time, it obeys submissively the international troika that is European Commission, European Central Bank, and International Monetary Fund, that impose a painful choke collar on our people in our country. This regressive anti-labor and anti-social policy is reflected perfectly in the draft governmental budget of 2014. If this budget is approved, it will further aggravate the sacrifices of the workers and the people. It sounds like they're talking about Detroit. Clearly, the policies of the bankers are the same around the world as they are here in the belly of the capitalist beast. It can be no more clear than described above that austerity imposed in Detroit has and will have the same cause and effect as that opposed against workers everywhere. Here in Detroit, we see the hand of the state as it imposed an emergency manager to carry out the will of the banks, who then imposed a devastating austerity program on the people of Detroit. Workers' pensions were held hostage, then slashed. Public assets are being looted and stolen. Questionable takebacks were awarded to the same banks that drove Detroit into bankruptcy. Health care benefits are slashed, and the limited pensions of workers were reduced to poverty levels. Tens of thousands of families have suffered foreclosures as a result of the predatory lending practices and policies of the big banks, while the city of Detroit has its already tenuous economy further eroded by the flight of manufacturing and industry over decades. Sisters and brothers, however, the story does not end there. As I said before, the austerity of the bankers and the bosses has indeed awakened a sleeping giant, the huge worldwide working class. Despite the crushing blows the austerity program has brought about, the workers have resisted and continue to resist this latest assault in ways that are having a chilling effect on capitalism. Resistance is in fact sweeping the globe. In 2013 and continuing today in Detroit and across the world, workers are mobilizing to send a new message of fight back and struggle. In Spain and Greece, Portugal, and other places where across Europe where millions, yes, that's right, millions of workers have filled the streets screaming their opposition to capitalist imposed austerity. They have had strikes, work stoppages, sit-ins, and filled the streets in the capitals to let people and fill the streets screaming their opposition to capitalist imposed austerity and the assault on the working class. Over months, demonstrations of hundreds of thousands across Europe tell a new story of growing dissatisfaction and fury at capitalism's foisting of its continual economic crisis on the backs of the workers. Confrontations, rebellions, and massive marches are now challenging this capitalist austerity assault on our class. New voices and new warnings are ringing across this country and around the world that things are not what they used to be. The workers are no longer waiting for the crumbs to fall from the table of the bosses and the bankers. The truth is, it seems that the very austerity that they are imposing on the workers and oppressed is turning around and biting the hand that is starving them. While austerity is in place now, probably for a time into the future, the reality is there must be a complete system change, a new world order that soundly defeats the profit motive and acknowledges that a reversal of the capitalist system, and acknowledges that the death of the capitalist system is the only solution for workers and oppressed here in America and everywhere. Building a workers' world is the only answer to a decaying and corrupt system that has racism, sexism, national oppression, and war as the cornerstone of its existence. No to austerity, no to racism, sexism, oppression, and war. Build a workers' world.